Ladies and gentlemen, I won! I won!
Well, hello everyone, this is HunterTube back again with a very kind of unexpected review, as you kind of got the tease for this in the community post and the collection video. But I won. I found 3 of the 4. Now I just need to wait till July 29th to get Gordon. Hi, this is yet again Future Hunter. This video was recorded before I found Gordon. And what's even better is that his shipment actually came 2 days early. He arrived on July 27th. So, back to the, unboxing. But yeah, I found the classic Thomas, the classic Scotsman, and the classic James. So, I will be doing a review on all 3 of these engines in one video. And there will be a separate video for Gordon all on his own. So, let's get started and take a look at these things, shall we? Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this extra Thomas off to the side and put him in the display case, as he'll be used for a custom later. And now let's get to these 3, starting with Thomas. So, let's start by taking a look at his box. So we got Thomas Friends logo here, Fisher Price, the 80th anniversary logo down here. It says Classic Thomas. Here we have the barcode down here with a bit of a weird layering issue. Thomas's wheels are layered outside of the white there, but the car wheels are layered inside. Can someone explain that? But here's Thomas inside the box. There's his little face. He's got his nice troublesome trucks. Here's the top. Got a nitrogen promo there. Here's the back. Just absolutely nothingness. And here is the bottom with that nice Thomas barcode, which has reverted back to the CGI one. Oh, and then here's the side, which has a ARC Productions promo. Now let's get him out of the box. Alright, coming in for the unboxing. I have waited so long to unbox a new Motorized. It's been since January, I think, if you don't count the extra Donald that I got off screen that I've unboxed the Motorized. But it's been since January since I unboxed the greatest moments. We will get to this in a moment. But out he comes. Out he slides. You can toss this aside. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Oh my gosh. This looks beautiful. Anyway, there's a piece of tape here that we'll need to snip. And then you can just lift this perforated flap. And he should be free. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, this thing is so good. It's so nice to hold in the hand. Out come the trucks. Out you come, little trucks. We can toss the side. Whoop. And here he is. So before we take a look at Thomas, let's take a look at the laziest thing Mattel has done with this entire classic range, and that's the instruction booklet. Mattel was so lazy, they just took the 2020 version and just used it. But for some reason, the Chinese instructions Wait a second. Wait a second. Nah, these aren't the 2020 versions. It has the Fisher Price logo. What is going on? I'm questioning Mattel logic now, and we're gonna toss it aside and finally look at the boy. Alright, so here is Thomas. And I'm just holding this thing in my hand. Just holding this thing in my hand. It is surreal to have this thing. Like, oh my gosh. The fact Mattel themselves actually did this is just surreal, man. Let's look at this face. So he's got like a determined sort of smirk, and he's looking off to the side there. His eyebrows are looking up and down. Honestly, my favorite version of this face is the one in like the barrel set where he's looking straight head on. But yeah, this face ain't too bad. It's actually a really good face. We will get to comparing him with some models in a second. But here's the side. He's got the realistic, what's it? It's not water. It's the, what do you call it? The realistic, detail there or whatever. And he's got the season 23 rivets and handrails. He's got the wheel arch, and a nitpick everyone complains about is how the front wheel doesn't line up with the wheel arch. Honestly, I don't mind it too much. As long as we got a nice top here and some nice wheels, which is literally the egg chassis, but now with amazing looking side rods and an amazing middle wheel here. Oh yeah, another nitpick. If you look at the prototype images, like some of those prototype images or like some of the promo images, they were originally gonna use newer wheels that didn't have the holes in them. But then they just went the lazy route and were just like, yeah, we're just gonna reuse the same wheels that had the holes in them from like the original 2014 range. But yeah, that's just another nitpick. Another thing is that the splashes are actually more inward compared to the tanks. And he's got that nice white footplate at the front. And he's got that little lamp there. His buffers are painted with them lamp irons. Here's the other side. Oh yeah, I remember what it's called. The realistic weathering. That's what it is. Realistic weathering. And then he's got the indent in the cab there, as well as the door. And he's got that beautiful step ladder. And coming up to the top here, we have a sticker for the cab windows and 3D whistles, which aren't painted, but I don't mind. And here's the top. Got the nice little cap, the water caps, the lining. Then we got the coal bunker, the red switch, which is actually a darker red compared to the All Engines Go one. You can see the All Engines Go switch is a slightly brighter red. I don't know how well it's picking up on camera, but it's yeah, there it is, brighter red. And then here's the back of the 3D lamp. No buffers, and that long coupling. And his production date is 107th day of 2025. But yeah, that was Thomas. And now, before I put some batteries in him, we're gonna compare him to a few models. Alright, so for the first comparison, we're gonna put him next to the abomination known as the Trackmaster 2 Thomas. So here are the two of them side by side. And you can already tell there's a huge difference between the two. Yeah. This is literally chalk. This is cheese. This is... The fact that the same company made both of these is literally insane, though. I mean, this is a masterpiece, though. This, I still see some heart in it, even though this is superior. Literally, there is literally nothing to compete with these two. They are so different from each other. It is insane. But yeah, face. This one wins. This one, not so much. But yeah, that's it for Trapmaster 2 Thomas. And I kind of did this comparison off screen already, but I think this Thomas is the closest we're gonna get to a nice match. The Trapmaster 2 RC Mad Dash Thomas. First off, look at the boiler height. It lines up perfectly. And if you look at the length here, it also lines up perfectly. Look at this. You're telling me with this guy taking 3 AAA batteries, right? We had a nice boiler height, but they decided not to extend the cab higher. If they extended the cab on this thing would have been amazing, honestly. And it wouldn't have looked so fast, cause you got this giant boiler here, right? And you got this squish squash cab. This guy also has the exact same giant boiler as this guy, except the middle part is more condensed instead of stretched out. But you got the nice heightened cab. This is the closest we're gonna get to a nice equal comparison. Like, look at that. That is insane. Mattel almost had it with this Thomas. Mattel almost had it with this Thomas, man. But then they got it 10 years, 11 years later down the line. That is insane. Even the faces are almost the same size. Look at that. Except this one looks more like a Thomas face. This looks like a generic character face. But man, this was the closest we got to like an accurate proportioned Thomas with the nice height and the nice proportions. Like, man, we almost had it. We almost had it, and now we do have it. But like, this is our closest match to a Thomas that might be compared well. But yeah, on to the last Thomas. And if you're wondering why I'm rushing a little through this, it's because I'm rushing the battery on my camera as it's kind of low. And I want to open all these as fast as possible. The next Thomas we have is the interactive talking Thomas. I'm only comparing this one because of the season 23 details. So the talking Thomas seems to have the rivets, except it has a few more in some areas. It seems to have rivets going down here, while this one only has them here and it just stops here for some reason. This one also seems to have the handrails and also has the rivets go up there, while this one doesn't even have the handrails and no rivets are present there. So yeah, even the season 23 style toys prior to this, oh yeah, and then this one for some reason has rivets right up there going across the cab, and this one doesn't. But yeah, that's why I compared the talking Thomas, just to see how the rivets were different between the two. But yeah, that's it for comparisons. And now let's pop some batteries in this guy. Alright, so I've got my handy dandy blue screwdriver. We're gonna unscrew Thomas here. Take a look at his beautiful chassis block. Oh yeah, look at that. It's literally just the all engines go chassis with new wheels. And it also appears to be slightly more grayish compared to the all engines go chassis. It's something they've not only been doing with the push-ons, but it seems they're doing it with Motorized too, which is interesting. But anyway, I'm gonna take our 2 AAAs, so that they don't fly out, and he's a goer. Look at that nice side rod motion. Look at that. Also, here's a look at his insides. Interesting. There's another screw there. I'm guessing that screw holds in the face. So I wonder what this screw holds in. I wonder if I can get this smoke box off without having to take off the entire thing. I'm gonna experiment with that in a little bit off camera. Yeah. Here he goes. Whee! Yeah, that was Thomas. And now let's take a look at his troublesome trucks. Alright. So here are his troublesome trucks. Now, first off, I like these things because, one, they're like an actual gray. They're like a lighter gray than the windmill one, which I sadly don't have. But they do have all this nice deep plank detailing printed on, compared to like the original 2020 ones, because these tops are basically just the 2020 mold. But it's got a new undercarriage with new wheels, and it's also got this thing underneath it. I forgot to grab something, so I shall go grab that quick. The thing I forgot to grab was this thing here, known as a packaging key. Now, some of you might know this piece is used in like sets and stuff to hold things in boxes. And interestingly, these trucks have a hole for the packaging key underneath them, which means there is a chance that a truck or some sort of tender engine might get used in a future upcoming set. So yeah, I might have predicted something there. But yeah, here's a look at the two truck faces. And they seem to be pretty much identical to the original ones. I think the eyes are a little different. Yeah, the whites in the eyes are a little different. This one, you can see the whites a bit more. They're more roundish, and this one, they're more crescent shaped. Also, the eyebrows are a little different as well. But other than that, it's the same face. And the same can be said for this one. It is the same face as the 2020 truck, except the eyebrows are raised a little, and the whites in the eyes are a little different. Also, this one has a bit of a misprint in the eyes, but I have a second Thomas, so hopefully those trucks look nicer. And also these trucks have a bit of weathering detail on them. A bit of rust weathering. And then they come with these nice crates, which are basically just reused from the All Engines Go line, as they have the pegs underneath them to fit onto the overused All Engines Go flatbeds. But there's one thing I kind of it's only a nitpick, but I don't really like this. They got rid of the funky, cool, wobbly feature that all the other trucks had. I get it, it was so they could remove the ugly gear wheels, but the All Engines Go ones had the wobbly feature, and they didn't have geared wheels. So I wonder, was it something with this new chassis block that they couldn't give it the wobbly feature or something? I don't know, whatever it is, I'm kind of sad they omitted the wobbly features, because that was a fun feature. It actually made the trucks feel like they had a troublesome personality or something. Like they were biffing and bashing or causing mischief along the line, instead of just being like stand still all the time. But yeah, another thing is this scaling. This scaling is very whack with this range. Like, hold on, let me compare the height of this. These two seem to be exactly the same height, even with the old undercarriage. But yeah, it's basically the same truck, just with more added details to it, and a different undercarriage. But yeah, the scaling with this is very whack. Like, that truck is very low. If it was, I think, yeah, the All Engines Go ones are a little bit higher. So if we put an All Engines Go truck behind this Thomas, it might look a little bit nicer. So if maybe they gave these things a little bit more height, it'd be a little better. But I don't know, this is still a pretty fun pack. I think we started off with the best one of the 4 that have been released so far. So on my rating scale, I'm giving the Classic Thomas a 10 out of 10. But yeah, now that we've got our first engine out of the way, let's move on to our next one. And our next character will be the Flying Scotsman. So, this one was probably one of the two we least expected to see when this line dropped at Toy Fair. The other unexpected engine was Duck, who is going to be literally impossible to get in the US since Target is literally getting rid of the standard motorized engines now. But we got Scotsman here. And we're gonna see what he looks like, and I'm pretty sure everyone knows what this thing looks like because I'm pretty much probably one of the last few people to review this thing. But yeah, here it says, just like Thomas's box, it looks like this. Got the 80th logo, it says Classic Flying Scotsman. And compared to Thomas's box, Thomas's wheels are layered inside of the white there. Also, I forgot to mention this, the cars here, the flatbeds Thomas is pulling are all engines go flatbeds, but with the Classic Series wheels. That is like cursed, honestly. But yeah, here we got the top, 80th, Flying Scotsman promo, mirrored promo over here, absolutely zippable on the back, and the Thomas barcode on the bottom. Let's open him! Coming in for the unboxing. So we will cut this here. Oh, also while I'm unboxing him, I'm gonna give a little fun fact. Originally, I was gonna split this review thing into like 2 parts. Well, it kind of is still in 2 parts since I'm missing Gordon. These weird instructions, I'll just toss those aside. If my own Walmart actually came in clutch a while back, I was originally going to get Thomas and Scotsman by themselves. I was going to get Thomas and Scotsman together, and then on a separate trip, I was going to get Gordon and James together. But since my Walmart is being absolute doo-doo, and is hopefully going to finally get these things on the 22nd, goodbye outer box, I had to go on a wild goose chase to find these things. And so I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to buy all the models I need at once, as long as I find all of them. That being 2 Thomases, 2 Jameses, 1 Scotsman, and 1 Gordon. I managed to find the 2 Thomases, the 1 Scotsman, and 1 James. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Alright, out come his tenders. Well, there's the first tender, and here's the second tender. And goodbye inner packaging. Alright, let's take a look at this guy. And we're gonna start off with none other than the front. So, starting off with the face. So, the face here is kind of like, it looks pretty similar to the face that's on his Trackmaster 2 model, except it's upscaled. And for some reason, it is very flat. It's like they upscaled it. I don't want to say the you know what word, because they obviously probably didn't use that to upscale, but they probably just upscaled it, and when it got upscaled, it just became flatter for some reason, and then his pupils became much bigger. Yeah, also, the running board, it sort of has a nice round curve to it, kind of like Duchess's running board. So part of me wonders, did they mod Duchess's running board a little bit to make this work? Also, Scotsman is better than the Gordon model because, for one, his smoke box isn't as long as Gordon's, so they were able to give him a nice footplate piece compared to Gordon, who has the short and stumpy footplate piece. But yeah, he's got some nice green pistons here. He's got a inner wheel in there as well, and there's this screw which holds it in. And he's got these extra pistons and things which are just stale, so they don't move. So it's kind of like those things on Hank and like those things you see on Classic Trammaster where it's like Hank or Murdoch where they have static side rods. But yeah, it's cool they added that. Back to the front though, they gave him painted buffers and they gave him smoke deflectors which are huge. They gave him a special funnel there. He's got his long dome. Also, out of the two Scotsmans that were there at the Walmart, I chose the better one because the other Scotsman that was there, the nameplate was slightly off printed. It was slightly off the nameplate there. So I'm like, I like grabbed that Scotsman first, and I'm like, and then like a few minutes before we got to check, I'm like, oh shoot, this one has a terrible looking printed nameplate. So I'm like, let me look at the other one, and I grabbed that one, and it was much better. So I've got this one. Even so, it is not perfect with the printing, as this is a little low and a little off-centered, especially that white stripe. Look at that. Why does it go white here and then white on the other side? What? Can someone explain that? And then here's a switch. Here's his cab. 4472. He's also got rivets, and he's also got those nice rounded cab windows. He's got a little trailing wheel here, nice long coupling, and his production date is also 107th day of 2025. Yeah, here's his underneath. Here's the top. He's got a nice cab. I'm pretty sure he and Gordon used the same cab roof piece. But yeah. Let's pop some batteries in him, shall we? The reason I'm doing this part first is because I want to look at the entire model before we compare it to the 2016 one. Oh, wow, that is an insanely tall chassis. Look at where the face goes. That is insane. That is insane right there. Okay. Honestly, Scotsman makes the fat body work. Technically, Gordon does too. The only thing that would fix Gordon is if he had a longer foot plate. Other than that, his fatness works. Actually, wait. No. We're not going to put the top on yet. Alright, he's a goer. But I don't think that is fast enough for my liking. What do you say we do a bit of modding, shall we? Alright, the chassis is undone. Here's our original motor. We're gonna take this gear off. I don't wanna wreck it. Just gonna give it a little pressure and yeah. Give it a little more. Give it a little bit more of a leverage, and it should come off. Ooh, almost. There we go. Gear is off. We're gonna put it onto this motor, like so. Just gonna pop it into there. And now we're gonna piece this thing back together. But first, all right, the chassis is back together. We're gonna pop this top back on, and we're gonna do the final speed test. Da 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 da. Now we've got super fast Scotsman! And he's gonna be flying around the tracks during the running session. But anyway, let's get to looking at his tiny tenders now. Starting with the coal tender. So, this tender is a completely different mold compared to the original one. And honestly, there are things I like and don't like about this tender. Same with the water one. For one, I like how this piece here is a separate piece to the green here. And then we also got that nice chassis block as well, which also has the hole for the key thing. The holds in there. Same with the other tender, but I don't need to show that. Oh yeah, here it says LNER. It seems to have a more basic font compared to the CGI one. The more I look at this font, the more it looks like they took, cause obviously they fixed the lining compared to the CGI one where it had like the arch, the curves in it, to make it more like the square ones the model series had. The more I look at this lettering, it looks like they took the entirety of the tender from his model series appearance. I'm not kidding when I say that. The font looks like the font that was used on the model series Scotsman tender. I seriously feel like they based both of these tenders off of the model series ones rather than the CGI one. Yet they based this front piece off of the CGI Scotsman. Even though the font is literally exactly the same between this tender and this front here. But yeah, when I get to the comparison, you're gonna see a few things why I don't like, a few things about these tenders that I don't like compared to the old ones. But yeah, I like this divot, this little divot, and how this is like a glossy plastic and then the rest is matte. It's interesting. Like, the undercarriage kind of looks a little weird with Scotsman, because I'm so used to the original one where it's like an outer piece. But yeah, now let's grab an old friend of mine to compare him to. The 2016 Flying Scotsman. So, starting off with the fronts. And just looking at this, other than the eyes, it literally looks like an upscaled version of this face, but everything just got squished at the front. Because if you look at this one has a nice big nose. And then you look at this one, the nose is just flat. The nose got squished. It literally looks like they just basically upscaled this face, but it got squished when it got upscaled. Another thing is that his deflectors, they seem a bit more flat at the front compared to this one, where they look more like 3D-ish, if you know what I mean. An improvement I can say though is the funnel on this one looks nice compared to this one. Another thing is that the deflectors are also a lot bigger, and they're more pushed back, and they're in the pushed back form compared to this one, where they're pushed forward when he does that cool thing in like the graveyard, so he goes shoom. There he goes, good luck little brother, shoom. But with this one, they're pushed back. They're in the pushed back form. But yeah. And then onto the sides here, just pretend that this is green, because I modified this a little bit. This one had like a metallic-y green, brighter green to the plastic, and it had the stupid steam clouds. Honestly, I like this more darker green than this lighter green. But yeah. Also, here's a better look at the fronts, and how he just reuses Gordon's footplate. This one doesn't reuse Gordon's footplate. But yeah, it's literally like night and day, these two. And of course, one is also much bigger than the other. It literally towers over him like a giant. Also, the cab is also a lot nicer too. They got that, both got that nice big dome. This one has an advantage where it has his little whistle. This one doesn't. Also, I think this looks, his little boiler slope looks a lot nicer compared to this one. Like, it's there, but it's not as prominent. Especially because the wheel arch is in the way compared to this one, where the wheel arch is out of the way, so it can be more prominent. But yeah, the backs. And then, yeah. That was the front comparison. And now on to the tenders. And this is where we're gonna get to the part where I don't really like. First of all, I miss how the buffers were actually like painted red, because they're just black here. And then the tops also look a bit nice. Here's the sides. Like, look how much closer this lettering is compared to this. Because I know it was this far apart in the CGI series, but the lettering was like this close together in the model series. It really makes me wonder if they just took this entire side decal and based it off of the model series tender appearance. Because they obviously fixed the lines here. Instead of making it slope like a Fowler tender, they based it off the model series one. It's really blowing my mind. And then this is the part that I hate. Look at how much detail this thing had. Just pretend this door isn't painted black, because I did that. Just pretend this back is all green with the red footplate. This door doesn't really have much detail to it. It's just a blank back. This is something I feel the 2016 tenders succeeded at. Giving it at least detail. It wasn't painted, but it was detail that was there. And then the same can be said about this tender. It literally excels at everything except for the back, where the 2016 one excels superiorly with its detailing, molded detailing that isn't detailed, because I detailed it myself. But yeah, the 2025 Scotsman is a mixed bag. Oh yeah, and also, look at that gap. Look at that gap. That is a ginormous gap between the engine and the tender. I didn't mind it that much with the all engines go ones, but this is, I can literally fit my entire hand between there. That is wild. But anyway, not only do we have one fast Scotsman now, this guy needs new batteries, but we have two fast Scotsmans now, ready and raring to race. So, what are my final thoughts on the classic Flying Scotsman? I don't know what I'd rate him, but he's definitely second place in the first 4 that were released. Yeah. He's definitely my second favorite out of the first 4 greatest moments that were released. If only they made him super fast like mine! But yeah, that was classic Flying Scotsman. And now, let's move on to the last engine we're going to look at, which is James! Alright, so first let's take a brief look at James's box. It's pretty much the same as the others. Thomas & Friends, Fisher Price, 80th anniversary, classic James. Thomas down here with the barcode, and for some reason his wheels are layered outside of the white again, while the cars aren't. Here's a look at James in the box. There's a nitrogen promo there. There's a different nitrogen promo there. Absolutely nothing on the back. And Thomas barcode on the bottom. And also pay attention to this gap here, because just like Scotsman, that is not how it looks when you open it up. So let's open it up. Okay, time to open you up, James, and get you out of your box. So let's snip these bits of tape. Snip. And free James from his box and get these lazy instructions out of here. Can throw the outer box out of the way. Let's bring the scissors back so we can snip that. And let's free James from his cardboard background. Alright. Out comes James the Brains. And his tanker. And goodbye inner packaging. Alright, so first we're gonna take a look at the front of James. So here's his face. Here's his front with his extremely long extended front, which is absolutely insane compared to some models we're gonna compare this thing to. He's got a very fat face, but it looks almost accurate to James. Here's the other side. He's got a bit of a sort of misprint with his lining there. Also, I just noticed something. The lining, the gold lining on this isn't like a 3D outline. It's just there. They didn't make like an outline for it. It's just printed on flat. That's interesting. But he's got the nice white deck that goes partially across and stops right where the boiler is. He's got a big firebox, a tiny cab, nice switch, nice gold plastic dome. Here's the inside where his cab actually has a nice view. But now let's get to the big elephant in the room. James's wheels. As you can see, the arches don't line up with his wheels. And honestly, I'm about to do a crazy comparison here with something old and something that maybe would have looked a little better, but I initially thought it was gonna fix the wheel problem, but it actually doesn't. So let's go grab them, shall we? Here is real Steam James. So, let's see here. If we line these two up back to back, right? We get a nice bigger cab compared to this one. So we get a nicer, smaller firebox, which honestly looks a little bit nicer. But then you lift these two up and look where their wheel arches line up. They literally line up directly next to each other. They are literally equal with each other. So, why is James's wheels on this new model out of place? This is why. They extended James's front to be extremely long. And that, folks, is why James's wheels do not line up with his arches. So even if they ended up making James's cab bigger and his firebox smaller, that wouldn't have fixed the problem with James's wheels not being lined up with his arches. So doing the mathematics, there would have been no way they would have been able to fix that problem. Even with the idea I originally was hoping for, where they would extend the cab. But mathematically, there is no way you can actually fix that. But honestly, I still feel like a slightly bigger cab and a slightly smaller firebox like this James does would have been a little bit better for this James. Because these two look pretty identical to each other in terms of the way they're looking, apart from the cab and boiler size. Because they almost line up identically. But then you look at these faces and you're just like, ugh, what is that? And you look at this and it's a nice face, and then you're like, ugh. But yeah, this James towers this one. And also it's got a much nicer boiler too. But honestly, this is like probably the best James to to compare this one to in terms of proportions and height and stuff is this Real Steam one, because this one feels like what could have been this James if they just tweaked it just a little bit more. Like, there was no way you could fix this problem here where the wheels don't line up with the wheel arches. Considering how lining these two up back to back, this James is basically just this James with a extended front and smaller cab and larger firebox. And also, speaking of that, this nice little pony truck is a nice addition on the front here. I was about to say, is it part of the smoke box? No, it's a separate piece. But yeah, that is the front of James. And now we're going to compare him to another James. And that is the Talking James. So yeah, this one also has a similar thing where the cab is nice and long and the boiler, the firebox is nice and short, like it should be. I just want to line these up back to back. The arches are in a bit of a different place. Honestly though, I just want to say something. I think this James right here, this Talking James, is like the best proportionate Trapmaster Revolution James ever made. Because it's got probably the nicest, biggest cab, and then the smallest firebox. Like, it's not too big, it's not too small. It's like just right. But yeah, I grabbed this one out to compare the rivet placements on these Jameses. This side is going to be a bit easier because the rivets, we can have a nice cleaner view. So on this one, we got rivets on the wheel arches, and we got rivets down here, got rivets all around, we got rivets around here. On this one, we got the rivets up here and around here, but they don't go down here, and they aren't on the arches at all. Not even around here, but they are up here. And they're a lot smaller too. But yeah, that was Talking James next to the new James. And also this face kind of looks more like James compared to... Okay, I'm gonna stop. But yeah, I still think this James face looks pretty good as well. But yeah, that was the front of James. Now we're gonna take a look at his tender. So this tender is actually very similar to the tender of the Talking Interactive James. But we'll get to looking at in a moment. But here's the side. It's got number 5. We got the rivets and the handrails. Got the new undercarriage. Here is the back. Plain old. Here's the other side. Here's the front. And then here is the piece of coal that is removable. Sadly, it is only one-sided compared to the other one. But I like how this piece of coal has a bit more archness to it compared to the original Talking James, where it's just like a square block. Speaking of that James tender, we're gonna go grab it quick. Here is the tender to the Talking Interactive James. And you're about to find out that this is not the exact same tender mold. Because for one, I just noticed this little gap is larger. It's a lot smaller here. 2, if you look at this one, I don't know if you can see it, but if I shine it just right, you can see there's a little indent of plastic. You can hear it on this tender. So there's a little outline of plastic indent on this tender, while this tender doesn't have that indent on it. So it is slightly modified from this tender piece, so it is not identical. Another thing is that it doesn't have this inner piece of coal here to simulate that the coal is like very low and running out almost. So they basically slightly modified this tender for the new James to make it work. So it's not exactly identical to the original Talking James tender. Oh yeah, and here's the pieces of coal. See, this is like just a square block, and like it was double-sided, so you could have like a full tender, a partially empty tender, or like a completely empty tender. This one, you just get a full tender or an empty tender, and because this has that extra coal piece, you cannot fit this bigger coal block into the older tender. But yeah, they basically just removed this black piece so they could fit this piece into there, make a nicer, bigger coal piece. But I kind of miss this piece. I kind of miss this black inner area. But honestly though, this piece does look a lot nicer than this. Also, the rivet placement is also different. This 5 is larger, and the rivets on this one are placed at the top and the bottom. But we've got the handrails. But on this one, the rivets are on the sides here, rather than the top and the bottom. But yeah, that was James's tender. And now, let's get to looking at his rolling stock. So here is the tanker piece. And honestly, I just want to say the prototype is better, because the prototype had like a milk logo on it. But this one, they just got rid of that, and now it's just a blank white tanker. Like, what is the cargo in this tanker supposed to be? I don't know, did we just make it up with our imagination or what? But yeah, it's a giant tanker. It is not the all engines go one, because it cannot be lifted off. But yeah, it feels like a hodgepodge between the wobbly tanker and the egg one. It feels like a hodgepodge between the two to make this new giant tanker. But there isn't really much to talk about, as it's just a white tanker. But yeah, that was James's rolling stock. So now we are going to take my trusty screwdriver and pop some batteries into James here, and oh my gosh. This inside is also interesting like Scotsman. So if you unscrew that, you could unscrew the dome there, and also the face. And then I'm assuming this would also release the smoke box, plus these two wheels. But yeah, let me grab the two AAAs. One battery, two batteries, and James is a goer. So now let's throw this top back on. And off he goes. So, what are my final thoughts on the James pack? This one is alright, I'd say. I feel like there could have been some improvements, like maybe make the cab a little bigger and the firebox a little smaller, but honestly, I'm getting used to this model. This one honestly doesn't look too bad. He looks better than Gordon. I'll say that for sure. Gordon is definitely the least favorite of the bunch in this first wave. But yeah, James isn't too bad. Now that I have him in person, he's honestly not too bad. And if you just ignore this, you honestly kind of get used to it after a while. But yeah, let's put all three of them next to each other now. So here are all three packs next to each other. So, on my ranking scale, I'd rank Thomas in first, Scotsman in second, James in third, and non-existent Gordon in last. But we will get to Gordon in his own review. But anyway, let's go to the layout, shall we? And get some running footage of these guys! And that was the running session of the 3 of the 4 greatest moments from the first wave of classic 80th anniversary motorized engines. So, before I end this video, there are a few things I'd like to say. Now, the first thing is that this question is probably on all of your guys' minds. Will these models here end up getting used in my series, Thomas's Trackmaster Adventures? The answer? They will not be used in the movie, but they will be used in everything that comes afterwards. So yes, expect to see these models be used in the series, just not in the movie. The movie will be the last goodbye to the talking interactive models. I may sneak some things from this new range in the movie, like the troublesome trucks, as like a teaser setup for what's to come. But other than that, the engines will not be seen in the movie, but they will be seen in everything afterwards. And the other thing I'd like to say is, did you manage to spot an upcoming custom I made out of the extra Thomas in the running session? If you did, be prepared for August. But anyway, there's HunterTube saying thanks for watching, bye for now, and hopefully I can get Gordon and an extra James soon.